This is worksheet number 4, which goes over uniformly accelerated objects, but it's asking you to recognize some differences between a position time graph and a velocity versus time graph. And then we should be able to pick out some new important pieces about these two graphs. So one thing with physics is you need to make sure you recognize what kind of graph they're talking about, because if the graphs might be identical, they're telling a different story if it's a position graph compared to a velocity graph. So you need to just make sure you recognize what kind of graph you have. If you look at this, we can see we have a curved slope for that segment, and we have it curving here, so we have some kind of acceleration going on. For this segment right in here, that slope is constant. That would mean that we have constant velocity. Okay? Now, I want to go back and just look at one segment of this curved line. If we looked at this, if we drew our tangent line through A, and then if we drew it, let's say at this point right here, we can see the tangent line is getting less steep. So in other words, the slope is decreasing. Therefore, the object is slowing down. Now, I'm not going to go through all of this graph. I think you should be able to use those tangent lines and recognize what is happening at the different positions here, okay, or segments that are marked A through G. So I want to go forward and look at the next question. This is also a position versus time graph. And it is showing an object moving, and it's accelerating because we have a curved line on it again. Now, they're asking you down below to describe, do these motion maps, and then they want you to find the displacement. Well, if you're going to find the displacement on a position time graph, you can just look at, hey, where was it at those times, and look at what is the change in position, right? Isn't that what displacement is change in position? So this is the change in x, okay? To find the average velocity, we should know how to do that. That is the change in position. Change in position divided by the change in time, right? That's the velocity average. Okay. Now, when they talk about the instantaneous, they ask you to do that by finding slopes of the tangents. Okay. So like if you were to go to 8 seconds and you're finding, you would draw a tangent line here. I'll try to draw this the best I can. Just running through that one point, you would find the slope of that line, okay? Now, there is another way we can do that, and we talked about this before. You could do a secant line. You could draw between the line between 6 seconds and 10 seconds, which would be right here, and you could calculate the slope of that, and that would give you the secant line, and that would give you the average velocity, and remember that would occur at the midpoint time, and this midpoint time is 8 seconds. So if I chose 6 seconds and 10 seconds and I drew the secant line, you could also draw the tangent line there. It's a little bit harder to do with this, and calculate the slope of the tangent line, and that would give you what is the instantaneous velocity at that. You can choose to do either tangent or secant. I would say with the secant line, you're going to be more precise. I'm going to the next page. Notice, this is a velocity versus time graph, different than what we've had before. Write a written description. You should be able to do that. Do a motion map. You're going to do velocity and acceleration vectors. And then they want you to determine displacement. So displacement from 0 to 4 seconds. Remember, that is the area underneath here. Now, if you know the area of a trapezoid, you could use that formula. If you don't know the area of a trapezoid, you could break this into 2 different areas. You have a triangle and you have a rectangle, and then sum the 2 areas together. So we should be able to either, if you know the area of a trapezoid, you could use that formula. If not, you should be able to break it into a triangle and a rectangle. This should get you started on this worksheet, And hopefully you will be able to finish this. And if you have questions, let me know and we can go through those questions again.